I think MJ's my guy for sure. Always. You know, when you talk about LeBron and Kobe, like I totally understand why people have LeBron where he is, either first or second in many people's eyes. You know, when you look at the whole picture of everything LeBron's done over the course of his career, it's hard to argue with. I think at his best, Kobe was right up there.
Some players inspire fans, but only a select few completely redefine what inspiration even looks like. Steve Nash understands exactly where that line is drawn, so when Nash said he was standing on the shoulders of legends, he wasn't just being respectful. He was speaking a truth every great player eventually realizes: greatness never appears out of nowhere. It's built on the legacy of the giants who came before, and in basketball, one name still towers above the rest: Michael Jordan. Nash never tried to dance around it, never watered it down. To him, Jordan wasn't simply the greatest because of numbers or championships. Jordan changed the entire feeling of basketball itself. In the 1990s, Michael Jordan wasn't just an athlete, he was a global event. Before social media, before instant highlights, before clips spread across phones in seconds, Jordan had already become mythology. People waited all week just to watch him play because every game carried the feeling that something unforgettable might happen. Every dunk felt larger than sports. Every stare carried pressure. Every possession felt like history unfolding in real time. When Jordan stepped onto the court, the atmosphere changed instantly. And that's where the real GOAT conversation begins. Not with spreadsheets. Not with debates about efficiency or eras, but with impact. Nash described something statistics can never fully capture: fear, not admiration. Fear, the kind of fear that elite athletes rarely admit out loud. The kind that makes opponents tighten their shoes knowing none of it may matter anyway. That's what Jordan created. You can argue about numbers forever, but fear like that cannot be manufactured. It shows itself before the game even starts, in body language, in tension, in the realization that a team already feels behind before the opening tip. When Jordan entered an arena, everything shifted. The crowd changed. The energy changed. The game itself seemed to move differently around him. He wasn't just a superstar, he felt like a storm building in real time. Defenders prepared for impact. Coaches searched desperately for answers. And still, Jordan floated through defenders, rose into that fadeaway, and delivered moments that looked impossible even as they happened. Every move felt calculated. Every possession felt personal, like he was rewriting the rules while everyone else struggled to keep up. Playing against Jordan wasn't just difficult, it was exhausting. The harder teams fought, the deeper they seemed to sink. And that cold smile Jordan carried on the court, it wasn't arrogance. He didn't just beat opponents, he stayed with them long after the final buzzer. Michael Jordan had a way of living inside the minds of the teams he faced. That was part of the fear Steve Nash was describing: not just losing to Jordan, but carrying the pressure of him before the game even started. Because you never knew which version of the storm was about to arrive. Maybe it was a scoring explosion from every corner of the floor. Maybe it was relentless defense that slowly stripped away confidence possession by possession. Or maybe it was the dagger shot at the end, the one that didn't just break the scoreboard, but broke belief itself. That unpredictability made him terrifying. LeBron inspires admiration. Kobe demanded respect, sometimes even fear, but Jordan created panic. Entire franchises felt it. Arenas felt it. The moment those red and black uniforms walked into the building, the atmosphere changed because everyone knew what might happen next. Jordan wasn't simply playing basketball. For many people, he became the definition of basketball itself. He didn't chase wins alone. He chased permanence, legacy, immortality, and that's why the conversation around him goes beyond rings or statistics. He was the aura, an aura forged during one of the most brutal eras the sport has ever seen. The late 80s and early 90s weren't built around comfort. There was no load management, no easy spacing, no protection from contact. It was physical, ruthless basketball where every possession felt like combat. Hand-checking wasn't controversial back then, it was normal. Defenders grabbed, shoved, leaned on you, and dared you to survive it. Then came the Detroit Pistons and the infamous Jordan rules. They didn't just want to stop Michael Jordan, they wanted to punish him. Every drive to the rim came with elbows, forearms, collisions, and hard falls that left bruises lasting days. Most players would have changed their approach after that. Jordan didn't. Every hit became motivation. Every playoff loss became fuel. Instead of breaking down, he rebuilt himself physically and mentally. He added strength, sharpened his focus, and transformed from an unstoppable scorer into something even more dangerous, a force driven entirely by willpower. By the early 90s, Jordan no longer looked vulnerable, he looked inevitable. He smiled through contact because pain had stopped being a weakness. It became part of the edge that separated him from everyone else. What was designed to break him only made the legend larger. And that's where Steve Nash asked the question sitting at the center of every GOAT debate: under which rules are we judging greatness? Because if today's stars were dropped into that era, the Pistons' punishment, the Knicks' physicality, the Celtics' toughness, could they survive it? Nash clearly had doubts. Jordan didn't just survive that environment, he conquered it. 6. Championships earned through exhaustion, punishment, pressure, and non-stop competition. Those titles weren't handed to him by circumstance. They were forged through pain. Every title Michael Jordan won came through battles against legends Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, the greatest names of an era built on physical punishment and relentless competition. That's why Jordan's legacy feels bigger than statistics. It isn't trapped inside spreadsheets or debates about efficiency, it's carved directly into the history of basketball itself. Because Jordan wasn't remembered simply as the most talented player, he became remembered as the one who was still standing when everyone else finally broke. So when Steve Nash was asked to rank Jordan, LeBron James, and Kobe Bryant, there was no hesitation. Jordan first, LeBron second. Kobe third. No dramatic pause. No long explanation. Just certainty from someone who competed against all three in different eras of their careers. Nash saw Jordan near the end, Kobe at his peak, and LeBron as he was ascending into superstardom. And his answer never changed. Why? Because to Nash, Jordan represented completeness. LeBron's longevity is historic. Kobe's killer instinct became legendary, but Jordan, in the moments that mattered most, felt untouchable. 6 finals appearances. 6 championships. No finals losses. No Game 7 escapes. No collapse under pressure. Just dominance. And not soft dominance either, dominance during one of the harshest eras the NBA has ever seen. Nash wasn't disrespecting LeBron or Kobe when he said it, he was describing something players themselves understood. Facing Jordan wasn't just competition, it felt like an experience that forced players to confront their own limits. Kobe inspired players to study his moves. Jordan made players wonder whether they even belonged on the same floor with him. That's the difference Nash kept pointing toward. LeBron inspires admiration. Jordan inspired fear. Against LeBron, teams still believe they can survive if they execute perfectly. Against Jordan, belief often disappeared before the game even began. LeBron's greatness stretches across time. Jordan's greatness felt like it stopped time completely. A storm that arrived, overwhelmed everything, and left nothing untouched. And when Nash talked about Kobe Bryant, his tone changed again, because if anyone ever came closest to following Jordan's path, it was Kobe. Kobe Bryant studied Jordan obsessively. Not casually, completely. The footwork, the fadeaway, the posture, the intensity, even the stare that froze defenders in place. Kobe never hid it either. He openly admitted Jordan shaped him. But what made Kobe special wasn't imitation alone, it was evolution. Every clutch shot, every cold-blooded moment, every silent walk-off victory carried Jordan's influence but filtered through Kobe's own identity. Jordan was the blueprint. Kobe became the reflection, and somehow, that reflection burned with its own fire. Kobe proved that Jordan's formula, elite skill, total obsession, and ruthless competitiveness could survive across generations and still dominate the game, and from that influence, Kobe created something entirely his own, the Mamba mentality. Because Kobe Bryant didn't just copy Michael Jordan, that hunger, that obsession with improving every single day. Kobe Bryant took those qualities and turned them into something entirely his own. He carried Michael Jordan's fire like a torch, passing it to a whole new generation of players chasing greatness with that same ruthless determination. Kobe didn't just inherit the mentality, he expanded it, shaping it into what the world would eventually know as the Mamba mentality, an approach built on sacrifice, discipline, pain, and relentless self-improvement. And yet, even with all of Kobe's greatness, one truth always remained. There can only be one original. Kobe became a near-perfect reflection, a legend in every sense of the word, but Jordan was still the source. The blueprint. the standard that every future superstar measured themselves against. Because even legends grow up studying someone. And for generations of basketball players, Michael Jordan was always that figure. Then came The Last Dance, and when it released, it didn't feel like just another sports documentary, it felt like the return of a myth. Fans weren't simply revisiting highlights. They were stepping directly into the obsession, tension, and pressure that built Jordan's empire. Every locker room confrontation, every outburst, every moment of intensity revealed the hidden cost of greatness. Steve Nash described it perfectly. The documentary didn't just revive memories, it stripped away the polished image and exposed the storm underneath it all: the anger, the perfectionism, the relentless competitiveness, and somehow, instead of damaging Jordan's legacy, it made it even larger. Because beneath all the pressure and conflict was a man who simply refused to lose no matter what it demanded from him physically or mentally. Jordan didn't just influence basketball, he changed the meaning of greatness itself. He wasn't always easy to understand. He wasn't always comfortable to follow, but nobody could look away. And decades after his final championship in red and black, his name still changes the atmosphere whenever it's mentioned. That goes beyond fame, that's legacy approaching immortality. Which is why the GOAT debate never truly ends. Because the argument was never only about numbers, it's about standards. Steve Nash once framed it perfectly. Greatness depends on what you value most. If dominance is your standard, total control over the sport at the highest level, then Jordan stands alone. 6 finals. 6 championships. No finals losses. No Game 7 failures. Just relentless execution under maximum pressure. If longevity defines greatness, then LeBron James deserves historic recognition. More than 2 decades of elite basketball while rewriting record books and surviving generations of change. And if mentality is the ultimate measure, the willingness to suffer, improve, and outwork everyone around you, then Kobe Bryant belongs forever in that conversation as well. But when all those qualities are combined together, dominance, impact, mentality, and legacy, one name still rises above every era and every debate. Michael Jordan. The player who didn't just master basketball, the player who became synonymous with basketball itself. A legacy bigger than highlights. Bigger than statistics. Bigger than time, because legends fade.